I want to bring in my guests. I am joined with the man himself, Andrei Telezhenko. He's a Ukrainian whistleblower and former diplomat. Andrei, man, welcome to the show. How you doing today? You doing all right?
Good morning, Jamal. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm watching the news as every time. Always, these last couple of years, the developments are just going crazy, crazy. Are blowing the regular orthodox standards of politics and international
Yeah,
relations, and anything that is happening we thought in the world was normal today is going outwards
that's
throughout the
notch.
door. So
Yeah, it's
that's
out
what
the
I.
window. It's fascinating. I've never seen anything that has been taking place over the last, let's say, month ever in my lifetime. And the meeting between Zelensky and Trump and Vance Friday just adds to it. Like, I mean, on some level, I get it, right? Like, you had the previous administration that said we're with you for as long as it takes. You had Zelensky coming into congressional meetings, congressional applause, all of that stuff. Basically, they treated him as the belle of the ball. And he would go and he would say, I need $1 billion. They said, here's $1 billion. They say, here's 2 billion. He says, what do you mean? This is only $2 billion. I need 5 billion. And they give him 5 billion. I need F-16s. I need this gun. I need that gun. I need this missile. I need this missile. I need permission to fire missiles into Russia. And then Trump comes in. And as they point out, there's a new sheriff in town. No, no, no. And it's even reported in the Kiev Post, I believe. Well, I think it was the Washington Post, but Kiev Post also reported it. That Trump is now, after that meeting, talking about cutting all aid or considering cutting all aid to Ukraine. Basically, you're a tough guy, be a tough guy on your own. Give me your overview of that meeting because I'm super curious about what was going on in Ukraine as that meeting was taking place. Meaning, what was Ukrainians thinking as they saw Zelensky flip out in the White House in the Oval Office.
The problem Ukrainians have divided now. From what I speaking to the people on the ground, I know that a lot of them now are supporting Zelensky. And they're trying to put this agenda back that we are backing the president. Even doesn't make sense of Ukrainians supporting Zelensky. They're against Trump now because Trump was acting bad towards Ukraine or is trying to cut aid to Ukraine or talking bad to Zelensky. And at the same time, you have all these military police around the streets taking their men and sons off the streets into the front lines like dogs, and nobody's talking about that. Nobody's saying that Zelensky's bad. Now Trump is bad. So they're trying to change that narrative in Kiev and Ukraine. And half of the population or some are trying to back it up, but it's for a couple of weeks or days. It's not going to last long. Usually, this euphoria is going to go away, and people will realize they are in deep shit. So what Ukraine really is in, and there's half of the population that understands and says, "Oh my God, what is happening? This has never happened," and Ukraine is done now just because of this clown in power who doesn't know how to deal and doesn't understand international relations. So it's divided now. That's for sure. A lot of people are going against each other in Ukraine just because of this political game. And we're seeing all these pictures of soldiers throwing away American flags from their uniforms and on media and saying, "Oh, we're going against America." Well, they throw away all the helmets and all the ammunition and all the rifles that are American made, the artillery and Hummers and everything else. They should throw that out. That's American made. They
Mm-hmm.
should throw that out and say, "Oh, we're against America. We're going to fight with whatever we have." There's nothing left to have. There's nothing. Europe didn't give a lot. Whatever Europe gave, it's gone. So this is the reality, and they're going crazy there. The problem is too much pride. They lifted with the strategy with the USAID funds and NED funds and all those CIA groups that were laundering money to Ukraine. They did their job. They basically rose the pride of Ukrainians higher than anybody else, which is basically Nazism, saying that you are a priority nation and everybody owes to you. And that's what they did. And at the same time, they put them on the needle of dollars that Ukraine needs to be fed all the time because it's going to collapse. That's what Ukraine is today. It's a collapsing, failing nation without any foreign support. It's gonna die completely. It's already dead, but it's in life support. And unfortunately, this is what it is today. And for me, as Ukraine, watching what's happening in the Oval Office was just crazy because even dictators and enemies don't talk to each other like this. Trump
Right.
did the right thing. Trump actually pointed out to Zelensky, man, and Vice President Vance, you are the problem is Zelensky is not just a leader who came to the Oval Office as a neutral leader and talking. He's a so-called illegitimate president by the constitution of Ukraine. At the same time, he is on totally life support from American dollars and funds and taxpayer money. So he has to not play a game as a neutral leader or independent guy. He has to actually obey. That's the biggest problem here. He doesn't understand. They're not at the same level. And Vance and Trump pointed that out to him. Said, "Look, you have so much problems in Ukraine. You have no democracy. Your men are dying. You're trying to come to tell us what to do." And that flipped Zelensky out. That flips Zelensky out because nobody tells him the truth to his face. No,
Yep.
nobody like Yermak, the Europeans, they're keeping him in a warm bath. They kept him in the warm bath for the last 4 years, saying that you're the true leader of the democratic world. You're the new Churchill, whatever, whatnot, all that crap, whatever they're trying to feed to everybody. They fed to him, and he actually believed in it. The problem is Zelensky. He doesn't understand foreign politics. He has a so-called law degree, but he never actually went to university, so he bought that law degree. He doesn't have a higher education. Guy is totally not in his place, trying to work international, very actually hard international relations and very strategic stuff, which he doesn't completely has no understanding of. That's why Ukraine is failing. That's why he had some brains in his head. This war would never start, and that's what Trump pointed out to him, and he was
Yeah.
right to do that.
He
And I'm
it
glad
was
that
an
he did it. And
intervention.
actually, I was applauding.
Yeah, it was an intervention, to put it mildly. I mean, let me see which clip. I played one clip before, basically saying he was disrespectful. Right here. Here's another one where Trump is talking about, because what's wild about it, the entire time Trump is like, dude, I'm trying to get a deal. I'm trying to get a ceasefire. You have no cards. And what Trump is trying to communicate to him is correct. You've lost the war. You are literally trying to pull kids, 18-year-olds, into the combat zone in order to fight. That's how bad things are. And just to make the point clear, Vance pointed out you are dragging people and throwing them in the vans because you are in manpower shortages. And here's an example. I mean, I have a few of these. I've been watching these clips for months now. This is a mom trying to keep her kid from being dragged. And look at this. I mean, this has been taking place over all of Ukraine, by the way. This
Every
is
day, every
every day.
day, all over Ukraine.
On this one, the guy's walking his dog and they snatch him from walking his dog. Can you imagine that? You go out to take your dog for a walk and these goons grab you off the street, throw him into the van, and leave the dog. This is screaming. Like, this is, explain how this works. So, how do they know who they're grabbing? Like, I'm walking my dog. Okay, how do they know who I am when I'm walking my dog to grab me and take me to the front lines?
They don't. They what is
Oh, they're just
happening?
grabbing arbitrary people.
Yeah, look how it works. These guys are with the support of the police. This is the so-called military police, the Tseka, they call them in Ukrainian, and they have no legal authority overall because there's no law for them. That's
Yep.
one thing. So these guys are illegal, but they are the Zelensky's army to keep everybody scared. Additional with the Secret Service of Ukraine that's having Nazi camps around and concentrated camps that are for people who want peace and killing journalists like Gonzalo Lira. And these are for the normal people who are not speaking out but just out there. So there are men in Ukraine that have been living in their houses for 2 years in their apartments. Their moms come and bring them groceries because they cannot go out into the street because they're going to get taken to the front line.
Wait a minute,
These
and just
guys,
so I'm clear, I want to nail this down. It's not like this is Bob Cobb and we have Bob Cobb on our list to get. This is, okay,
no,
there's a guy walking his
this
dog.
is random.
Okay.
This is a random. They see a guy saying, "Oh, he's the age between like 25 and 60, or even younger than that, and they go and get him. That's it. They don't care who it is. There's some men being taken off the streets who are with their children. The children are being left on the street alone, and they've been taken to the front to the military police headquarters. So this is what had happened. So this, what they're doing is they are with the support of the police. The police is backing them up. These guys are running around randomly around people's houses, apartment buildings, or in vans driving around. Or sometimes when I heard stories, there's people on the bus stop, men going to work in the morning because some people do need to go to work. They have no other choice. They cannot hide. They don't have the money or the funds or the family to support them. So some do go to work, and there's men on the bus stations, bus stops, and there's a regular bus stops by, and they think they're going to go to work, but no, they're out of that bus. The military police, where the police comes out and drags 20 men right into the bus, and they basically surround them. 20 people surround these 20 guys, and they just drag them in and go away. And these guys go sent to the front lines within from 2 days up to 2 weeks. These guys don't have get training. The training they have, they live in a field because there are no military headquarters or camps for them to live in. So basically, it's a field with tents, without no bathrooms, no showers. They're there from 2 days up to 2 weeks. They're not being fed properly. They don't even have. They don't have even cutlery kits or like nothing. They're just there cutting out plates from bottles and getting fed like whatever. But even in jail, they're being fed better. That's
Wow.
that's the footage I've been seeing from people who are there, and they don't then be sent to the front. They give them some uniform, a machine gun with the 30 bullets, and then they get sent to the front. That's it. That's what it is, and they die within a week because they don't have no training nor nothing. And if they try to surrender to the Russian forces,
He's
they get
shot in the
shot
back.
in the back by the Azov battalion. So this is the reality in Ukraine. This is the so-called democracy. This is Zelensky sitting in the White House. He should not have not only been shouted at, they should have arrested him
I
for
want
crimes against humanity. That's what the White House and the state administration should have done. Not only for crimes against humanity, but also arrested him for the taxpayer money that he basically, the U.S. taxpayer money that he put into his pocket, and then investigate him. That's what they should have done.
Oh, that's going to be the interesting part because now that they pissed Trump off, he's talking about investigations. People are screaming for investigations into where did the money go, because Zelensky pointed out, well, it's like $100 billion that we didn't get, and so Trump came out, hey, okay, if you didn't get $100 billion, we need to know where the money went, and that is going to be one of the most fascinating things. I want to play another clip for you though to get your take on. This is Trump talking about trying to make a deal. Zelensky being a petulant child.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on out here. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
Tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire
guarantees.
because you'll get a ceasefire faster than it agrees. It's going to be a very hard thing to do.
That clip is fascinating because it's an intervention. Like he is. So in the reporting in the United States, in Time magazine, they pointed out that Zelensky was delusional. They call him messianic. They said he is out of touch with reality. And Trump is like, you are losing. Your people are dying. What is wrong with you? Why don't you want a ceasefire if you can get a ceasefire? Meaning, if we could stop the bullets from flying. By the way, Russia's not going to accept a ceasefire, but whatever. Trump is like, if you can stop it, you should stop it. With Trump's idea being, if we can stop the bullets, then we can maneuver from there with the very least your people not dying. And he is like, nope, nope, nope.
This showed everybody's face.
Yeah.
Zelensky's face, the Europeans' face, who wants war and who wants peace. Yeah, maybe the Russians would not go for the ceasefire, but at least they are willing to sit down and start talking.
Right.
The same thing with negotiations. You have to compromise on your pride and sit down and start talking. That's what Zelensky came to power with, and he lied. And that's what he doesn't. He thinks he's being backed by globalists and by the European Union that will continue his war. Because for Zelensky, the stoppage of the war means his political or maybe physical death, because everybody will understand what happened and what he did to the country, and he's done. So that's why he needs this war to continue, not only for his masters that want to make money on this, but for himself. So Trump's saying, and he said, look, you don't want. He showed who Zelensky is, that he does not want peace because this is being happening behind closed doors all the
Right.
time. Nobody saw this. Nobody understands who Zelensky, how he acts. I personally know. I've been talking to Prime Minister Fico's team, and I know that Zelensky was threatening to Prime Minister Fico for the last 2 years or
Wait,
the
you
last year
said
and a
he was
half,
threatening Fico?
politically.
Oh,
Politically, not physically, but
sure.
politically, that Ukraine is going to go against Slovakia, that Slovakia cannot do anything, that they're being backed by Washington, etc., etc. And this is how Zelensky talks to foreign leaders. Can you imagine how he's talking to Trump, the person and the president of the United States who's financing him, how he's talking to people who's not financing him or financing him, but in a much lesser proportions. Zelensky doesn't even care about those people. That's for a great example. And Trump
What is
showed
his,
Zelensky's face.
what is his motivation? Like, is it because there are several ideas that I have, and I want you, because you've met Zelensky, you know him better than I do. Is it he's just committed cognitively to the war? Is it he feels he was led down a path, meaning at the point where the US and Europe is like, we're going to back you for as long as it takes. We're going to give you all the money. We're going to give you all the weapons. We're going to give you all this stuff. And from his point of view, it's like, okay, you guys told me you were going to back me, and now you're pulling this nonsense or pulling out of the war. Is it that he thinks he's going to be killed or imprisoned at the end of the war? Like, what do you think is the primary motivation for him to act this way?
Look, you have to understand, Zelensky doesn't think like he's like a president of a country. He's not a statesman. He doesn't
Right.
think about the country or the people or anybody else around the globe. He thinks about himself. I know who he is. He is a bully. Like by himself, how he acts. He's a drug addict, a bully, and that's what he is. He actually mentally a disabled person in a very bad way, not in the way of healthy, but in a broken way. That's what he is, and he was given the power to lead this war with the West. He was told that he's going to have the support of the West for this war in 2019.
Right.
He committed to this war to the Brits in 2019. That's his problem, and he understands that he's going to be killed or physically destroyed, politically destroyed, whatever, if this war ends. So that's why he needs to stay in power. That's why he doesn't want to have elections. He want to go away. He's standing his ground. He thinks that he's been backed by the globalists, by the Newlands and the Europeans. That they're going to continue to give him the money that he needs, but they cannot because Europe doesn't have the money. But he doesn't understand that he's being fed lies. He doesn't think about when people think. Even I've been talking to different people around the globe, and I've been telling one thing to everybody: you have to understand, this guy doesn't think as the president of a country. Doesn't think about his people. If he did, this would have been over. That's why everybody's like trying to tell him this war is bad. You're losing,
Right.
and he first of all he doesn't understand. Second of all, he doesn't want to understand because he thinks only about himself. He said, "What's in it for me? I want to stay in power. I was told that I'm going to come out a hero. I'm going to live as a hero. I'm going to have all the money that I got. Nobody's going to try to investigate me because I'm a hero and I broke down Russia." No, he didn't break down Russia. He failed to keep Ukraine safe. It was his obligation not to have to start this war. It was his obligation as a country that doesn't have a nuclear capability to sit down on a table with a country that has nuclear capability. And first and second of all, the country that we were part of for more than 350 years. Yeah, 350 years. We were part of Russia, Russian Federation, the Soviet Union. We were one nation. We were much closer than the Belarusians are with the Russians and anybody else from the Soviet Union. We have families on both sides, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters living on both sides of the border. So this is what Ukraine is. They should have sit down and talk. Russia was open to sit down and talk. Give us just the promise Ukraine's not going to join NATO and we're not going to do anything. But no, everybody said Ukraine's going to join NATO. They put it in the constitution. Zaluzhny, the chief of the military armed forces in
In exile.
2021, before the war, he said, I'm going to drive a tank throughout Moscow. What is this? Who are these people? They're warmongers. They wanted this war. They were provoking this war to make money for themselves and for their owners. Zelensky was promised a political career. Zelensky was promised a political career and billions of dollars. He's a billionaire. He maybe got more money than Trump has, but Trump got them legally, and his family is owning business legally. On the other hand, we have a dictator who's a billionaire. That's why he's acting this way, because he is a bully, and he's thinking about not that his country needs sound. That's what people need to understand what they mean in Zelensky. He's not a statesman.
Arestovich pointed out that Zelensky was going to be prosecuted at the end of this war. Do you think that's true? That once this war ends, and again, I got to be honest, I don't know what Ukraine is going to look like at the end of this war. Mark Sloboda, because Trump went with this idea that I'm going to get a deal, I'm going to get a deal. It doesn't seem like Zelensky wants a deal, nor does it seem like Europe wants a deal. If the U.S. pulls its resources away, then Ukraine is going to collapse. And there's a question of how far does Russia go? Are they going to go to the Polish border? If so, then Ukraine is non-existent or it's something else. If, though, by chance, there's some kind of deal, will the next leader, the legitimate leader of Ukraine, prosecute Zelensky in the way that Zelensky has been going after his political opponents?
We have to understand Ukraine and what Ukraine is part of. It was historically part of the Slavic Russian world. There's the Anglo-Saxon world and there's the Slavic Russian world. Nobody's going to the Anglo-Saxon world trying to get Ottawa to join China or Russia or whatever. That's nonsense. The same thing here. The United States needs to pull out of Ukraine. If Trump also wants to move forward fast, and after what he saw, and hopefully understands what Zelensky is now, and show to the world, it's not just about what if America is going to pull out, Ukraine is going to fail. No, if America is going to pull out, and we're going to have a neutral government in power in Ukraine that will lead throughout these negotiations with Russia and Washington, saying that putting a neutral government that will have no intelligence agencies of the United States in Ukraine or foreign intelligence agencies, have a new embassy, reformed U.S. embassy with the new Trump administration there and other embassies. That's it. That's the only legal grounds. Basically, have some sovereignty give some sovereignty for Ukraine, and the neutral government will make a peace deal on its own with Russia, or it will keep Ukraine fully intact as whatever is left of it, and lead it as a neutral country. That will be also a gain for everybody. Or Ukraine will choose to join Russia, probably it won't, or it will choose to join physically with Russia, become some part of Russia, and that will be also to the neutral government to decide. But anyway, it will be peace. But most important part, I think Ukraine will stay as a neutral country. Russia will want to have a country neutral by its border. They don't want to invade or take over fully Ukraine. They need a country that will be helpful for them, not only by their side on the borderline, but also be helpful for them in foreign organizations like UN, other OSCE, etc. So you'll have their voice and support, and you'll have a neutral government that will work together with Moscow. That's what I think it's going to lead to. That's what Trump needs to understand. They need to pull out of Ukraine. America is not gaining anything from this. This is just getting into total chaos. Zelensky doesn't have a voice. You pull out, you close down Starlink, it's over. You pull out your foreign CIA groups and other NSA and all the 16 intel agencies that the United States have out of Ukraine. And the New York Times showed that they were part of this war. They're the ones who were preparing the Ukrainian Nazi battalions, and they were fighting this war at the beginning when Russia went into Ukraine in the beginning. The CIA was part of this, and they still are. They're giving intel, maps, and satellite pictures to the Kiev regime today. Stop that. Agree on a neutral government, and you will have peace. I will tell you, and I will try to make everything from my end possible to make peace. I don't know where I'll be, but I will do whatever I can. And as soon as Ukraine at least gets some sovereignty for a couple of months, you will see this will be over. Zelensky will be over. He may be prosecuted, and I think he should be prosecuted for the crimes he did in Ukraine. He killed, or 3 of my friends were shot by the Secret Service of Ukraine, and more than 1,000 people were imprisoned. More than thousands of people were in prison, and by the United Nations, it's over 15,000 political cases. Women are living in prisons, men are living in prisons for just believing in peace or wanting to be with Russia, because Ukraine was part of Russia historically. It's not like Russia came into London and said, "Oh," told everybody to be part of Russia. No, we were historically there. That's why we have so many times. That's why people did support Russia, wanted peace with Russia. It's not like Russia had propaganda there. It was Western propaganda of hatred toward
Right.
Russia. That is the problem. Get that out. Trump needs to get that out. As what he did with the United States, get out of Ukraine, and you'll have peace, and he'll have full responsibility for that peace, because he was the one who actually got the U.S. out of Ukraine, and that will
And
be
by the way,
helpful for us.
to back you up on this, when Trump killed USAID, we uncovered all sorts of intelligence operations all around the globe that USAID was effectively working on in Romania and Georgia and Hungary, and also Ukraine, where 9 out of 10 media organizations were paid for by us.
90%, yeah, 90% of the
90%.
media was
And
owned by
it's
the
like,
American taxpayer money.
and it's like, what do you think those media organizations were saying? They obviously weren't pro-Russian. They were whipping up a fervor in a particular direction. I know this is painful for you, but why were your friends killed? What was the circumstances around their murders?
I can tell you that they were not political figures. They were not members of parliament. They were not they were just regular people, political experts, going on television talking about peace for Ukraine. And one of them, I don't want to name his name publicly, but he got shot. But I can name it in any authorities that if they have questions. He got shot by the security service of Ukraine in front of his family. His child is disabled in a wheelchair, and he got shot right in front of his family. When he opened the door to them, they shot him in his head. And that's it. So
And they
this
did
is
that because they were giving political analysis, not wanting war, not necessarily.
yes. He was just wanting peace. He said, we should not fight with Russia. We should not have war. It's going to destroy Ukraine. That's what I've been talking about. They were actually also after me. I was put on a kill list in Ukraine. I was sanctioned by the Ukrainian government. I was sanctioned by the U.S. first for going against the Biden administration, and by Pompeo and his henchmen, and falsely. And then I got sanctioned in Ukraine. Then I was put on a kill list in Ukraine for speaking about peace. For the last 4 or 5 years, I said Ukraine should get away from foreign influence. Ukraine is going to be led to become a battlefield. I was saying this in 2018-19. Ukraine is going to become a battlefield if we continue this politics, and that's what Ukraine is. And and I was followed. I had to flee Ukraine not because of the war. I had to flee Ukraine because my own government wanted to kill me for coming out and saying I want peace. I'm not connected to any agencies or Russians or Europeans or whatever. I was just by myself talking about this everywhere. So was my friends. And now they cannot because they were shot. Unfortunately, they were very unfortunate because I told everybody they had to flee. But because I was more fortunate, I don't know why, but I could get out.